This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Welcome everybody to the Easthampton City Council Finance Committee meeting for June 15th, 2026. It is 6:02 p.m. So what we'll do is we're going to have public speak where we can speak about anything that's not on the agenda, and then we'll have mayor communication, and then when we go through the agenda, if people have anything they want to comment on, I'll try and leave just a moment for people to do that. But let's start with public speak. Anybody here have anything they want to speak to that's not on the agenda? Anyone online? Okay. Mayor communication?
The only thing I have to say is I think because of a couple of, there we go. We have a couple of union negotiations that are happening tomorrow. And so that is going to impact the timeline of your being able to approve everything. So I was talking to Council President Denham about having a meeting a week from tomorrow and having a backup meeting a week from tomorrow and plus 1 day. So Wednesday and Thursday of next week. But I'm sure President Denham will illuminate that more.
Okay, sure. I might have some questions, but let's get into that. And I guess that's the first thing we're going to talk about is the budget. So Let's talk about budget.
Yep. So like Mayor Derby just said, there are a couple of union negotiations that are taking place tomorrow. So because of that, we're not able to vote on the budget tonight to send it to council. So essentially what we would need to do is find a time after those negotiations are complete for finance committee to send their recommendations back to council, which will likely not happen obviously before Wednesday. And at that point, at Wednesday's meeting, we would need to make a continuation for the public hearing regarding the budget. So I literally just found out this. And so that's something that we are, we will know more information tomorrow actually regarding how the union negotiation goes.
Okay. Just because I anticipate getting some questions about this from the public, like which particular unions are these? And just I could use a little bit of a better understanding of like how this of just the timeline of this. I feel like we could have put this on a different day, but is this something new or?
So this is the ongoing. It's new because it happened the other night when you guys cut the sustainability coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
So that has to be bargained.
Oh, it's like an impact bargaining thing. Okay. All right. Well. Okay. Cool. I guess then. So then, what we would be talking about doing is scheduling a special city council meeting for probably
The next
so
Wednesday.
the 24th.
Yep.
And then we'll have to figure out a time to meet between now and between tomorrow probably and the 24th. So
48 hours from now.
yeah.
Anything
okay.
beyond 48 hours, right? Because we have to.
Basically Thursday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Monday, or Tuesday.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I guess let's see where things go tomorrow and we can take it from there. All right.
the meeting be posted?
All the information will be posted. Mayor, just if, as this, you get more information on this, if you can just keep us in the loop so that we can schedule accordingly. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, well, that's a big part of our agenda, but we do have a good deal of appropriations. So I guess we can just move on. Unless there's anything else that you want to discuss about this? No? All right.
I guess the question then is, do department heads need to be here?
I guess department heads, unless they have a appropriation before the council, I don't think that they need to be here. You're always welcome, but you don't need to.
I see someone running for the door.
Not that we don't love having you around, Chief. Okay. So I guess let's just take these in the order that we introduced them. The first one that we have is a CPA supplemental appropriation for $135,000 from CPA undesignated fund to dog park construction. Seems like we've got quite a few of you here. Would one of you like to present on this?
How did you know?
Could have been anything. I don't know. I'm just intuitive like that. And I apologize. I know that you've often had slides in the past. We're having some tech issues, but
Bring anything.
that's fine.
I'm Joan Kurtz, President of Friends of Easthampton Dog Park. I don't know what you want me to present, because at this point, we know that we have the CPA's approval.
Mhm.
And once you approve it and then go to City Council Wednesday, we're celebrating dinner out on Wednesday. Then we're done with our building of the dog park. All the funds will be there. So I'm just hoping that there won't be any more stumbling blocks and that we can move forward.
Right.
Do you have any questions for me?
And so this to your point, this is the final funds for construction, because we appropriated the design funds.
Design
Not
funds
too
were
long
done
ago.
earlier, last year, and because we received a donation of $200,000 from a very generous benefactor, that took care of the bulk of the funds that we needed. We just needed these last four, to match whatever the design engineer thinks the actual cost will be, which is $335,000.
Councilors, any questions? Council Dunham?
Just real quick, can you remind the public, how long you've been working on this project and, CPA, city council, the park, like, could you just give a little refresher? How long you've been, kind of working at this?
Sure. In 2019, prior to COVID, is when the thought of an actual dog park started. Then COVID hit, it disappeared. I came in, I moved here in 2016 and spoke with Owen Zarrett, and we got it going again in 2023 officially. We became a 501c3, worked with Park and Rec, and looked at least 24 different city locations. They all had wetlands, and therefore we could not use them. We always wanted it in Manatuck Park because that's where people walk their dogs anyway. So after back and forth, Park and Rec voted we could have it in Manatuck Park, have a location. We hired Bill Cannon to do the design, and he works often with John Mason, so they know each other, so there's not going to be any problems there. And we asked for the extra, we prepaid Bill Cannon a little bit, got the extra funds from CPA. And then once we knew that the actual cost was $335,000, we got the $200,000, as I said, in donation. And this just tops it off. So then we will still constantly be raising funds for maintaining the dog park. We have a memorandum of understanding going with John Mason. And Parks and Rec will do some of it, and we will do some of it. So we'll always be fundraising, but at least the construction will be done.
Great. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. So obviously I know that this is it's been a journey for you all, right? And I know that there were some rather large hurdles. And I just want to acknowledge the persistence that you all demonstrated in not giving up. I know this has been a very long process, but I also want to acknowledge that this is an opportunity for you to build community, right? And I know a lot of seniors have been involved in this project, and I can't understate all the various ways that we have a responsibility to try to help people kind of get to know their neighbors and build community. And it's obviously not without its challenges moving forward, because you have a memorandum of agreement and you're going to continue to raise funds. But I certainly appreciate everything that you've done to continue to work at this and continue to create opportunities for people to get to know each other, and it's, with your dogs and, as a dog owner, et cetera. So I just want to acknowledge all of your hard work.
Thank you. Just to talk about community, we had our second pet food drive, and the community came out in abundance with all of their cat litter, dog food. So Easthampton community does support the dog park big time, and for that we are also appreciative.
Okay.
Quick question. I was just wondering, I know it's continued from the last city council meeting, but did you want to retouch on the legal expenditures tonight, or?
I thought my plan would be that we would just talk about that, because it was just continued it to the next meeting. So we would just talk about it on Wednesday.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Unless councilors, do you have any? Okay. I would make a motion to recommend this supplemental appropriation of $135,000 for dog park construction to the full council.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have an appropriation of $44,100. This is coming, 39,768 of this would be from CPA Reserve for Open Space, and 4,332 would be coming from the CPA Reserve Fund. And this would to be appropriated for the Mutterfield renovations. Would anyone here like to?
Could you just say those numbers one more time?
Sure, 39,768 and 4,332 for a total of $44,100. This was a request, I believe, that came from the Pascomic Conservation Trust. Do we have anyone from the trust who wants to speak? Great.
Sure. Diane McLean, 13 Matthew Drive, president of the Pascomic Conservation Trust. First, I want to thank you, because if you've ever been down to Mutter at any time of the day, you'll find people, and I'll just be raking the outside, raking the accessible trail, and people always. There's not been one time that people haven't stopped me and thanked me for keeping the trails clean, keeping it in good shape, as much as you can a 10-year-old property. So it's heartening every time I go down. Last time there was a man who could barely get out of his car with a cane, very shaky. He was able to hold the hand railing, and he was just ecstatic because he can get out in nature And this accessible trail is flat. So, as opposed to the, Mountain North, which is a great trail as well. So I just want to thank you. It's in a little rough shape. We copied Fort River Fish and Wildlife Services, design, and their trail, they were both done at the same time about 10 years ago, and their trail is faltering, and they're doing the same thing, which is really nice. So we're going to be chatting with them on, best practices. So again, thank you very much.
I have,
And the city, the community thanks you.
thank you. So there's some questions I would have asked, but unfortunately this CPA meeting conflicted with one of the budget hearings, so I wasn't able to be there, but I was kind of curious, what type of maintenance work are you planning on doing here?
We have to put in a new bridge. Because the culvert is faulting, and all the edging needs to be replaced. The plantings need to be redone to make sure it was a unfortunately the invasives had taken over.
That was what I was going to bring up.
So we're eradicating those and replanting. So it's quite a bit of work.
Yeah.
Have you worked with the Bees Committee at all on this?
I'm so glad you asked.
Well, you're welcome.
We are working with the Bees Committee. I had a nice hike with Sean from the Bees Committee, and we talked pretty extensively on their involvement. Once, as you know, we have an invasive grant that we'll be using, and hopefully that'll be starting soon. Once that starts, we'll start putting in native plantings. So yeah, it's really nice to be able to work with another committee like that. And they're doing a firefly walk on one of our properties the end of this month as well. So there's a lot of coordination between the two. It's really, really nice.
Right, I love hearing that.
Do. Thank you for bringing this forward. I would say of all the places in Easthampton where I spend the most time in nature, Mudders and the surrounding trails are probably the top of the list. And so appreciate that it's there for Easthampton, the surrounding neighborhoods. And very much, I can see as I go around, the work that needs to be done. I feel like the last couple of years especially seem to have been really hard on some of the infrastructure, I guess we'll call it. I did have a couple questions and concerns that I wanted to bring forward about this particular project. And perhaps you could talk about them, talk these out with me. I believe I heard when you presented on this at a previous meeting, may have been the CPA annual meeting, mention of using Trex or something similar to that. Is that still the intention?
The intention is to use a Trex-like material. There's one that is compatible with the ground. So that's what we're leaning toward, obviously.
Gotcha. You don't happen to know the name of that, do you?
No, but Fish and Wildlife is using that.
Okay.
That particular material.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so part of my concern, obviously, I'm no expert of this field, but it's definitely something of interest to me. And I appreciate that it's a material that is capturing sort of plastic waste and repurposing it. And I think if it was either in an isolated spot or further away from kind of like natural habitats, I probably would have no concerns. But as it stands, there's a couple things. One, I think is kind of something that could be fairly easily addressed, which is when plastic boards are being cut to size, which I'm assuming is going to happen as a part of this project. Doing that essentially scatters microplastics into the surrounding environment, because as you're cutting them, it's just the pieces are going everywhere. And so it's super critical that whatever devices you're using to do that have some sort of vacuum attached so that those.
Oh, certainly, yes.
My other concern is a little bit harder to address, and this is maybe what we can talk out. Because it's my understanding, as we've sort of observed long-term kind of plastic things in the environment, they often seem like they are just they're just lasting, right? But what we now seem to understand is that there are still bits of these materials that are shedding off and entering into the surrounding environment. And again, I'm a little bit concerned just because, the park is abutting a natural habitat. And if we're going to be using them for the sort of rails of the trail, if you will, it's going to be spread pretty much throughout the entirety of the park. It won't be in just an isolated place. Which is why it seems like I need to do a little bit of further research into the particular materials that the Fish and Wildlife folks are suggesting. But I wanted to bring that up as a concern. I think the research that I was doing suggested, sorry, I've got a lot of thoughts here.
Yeah.
We think of using wood and trees as a strain on the environment. Obviously, there are a lot of instances of sustainable farming of trees, which lessen the impact of cutting them down. And I believe I read, and fact check me on this, but if you can get like 7 years out of a piece of wood, you've sort of made up for. You kind of broke even in terms of the carbon footprint of growing that and then making use of it in that way. You said we got about 10 years out of what was installed.
We've been patching it for a number of years now.
And so I bring all that just for consideration and to kind of put it forth for conversation. I think without further information about the materials themselves, I feel a little hesitant to vote it along as it stands. Obviously, very much in favor of the project in general. But just for my part, I feel like I need a little bit more information about that, and just wanted to put that out there.
Councilor Dunn?
From your discussions, was there a reason why you wanted to go with this material as opposed to wood? I mean, obviously the most obvious reason is duration, but were there other conversations that may have had in regards to the concerns that Councilor Schmidt is raising?
It's particularly the duration. As you know, this project is over $70,000. And we're fundraising now, but in this climate, it's not that easy. So we've come to you many times, the city, and with the way they've vetted this new material, it's not trucks. It's a different type of material, and I apologize for not knowing the exact name. That Fish and Wildlife are using, and again, they vetted that on their properties, and theirs is so similar to ours, obviously, because we basically copied them. They've helped us out on that. So
if you could just, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I think that this will be probably just understanding that material a little bit. I'm sure you've got, I don't expect you to have that information all at the top of your head. If that's something that you could just email to me or to the council in general, just so that we could, if this comes up on Wednesday, we have the ability to review that and review what Fish and Wildlife is doing. I think that would be helpful.
Sure. I can do that.
Yeah,
Any other questions? I just want to say, I'm precinct 3 counselor, and my house is not super far from there. It's far, it's that I end up there, fairly regularly, and just hearing about the invasives getting handled is something that makes me very happy because, it's all of that just like black swallow wart is, it's the whole precinct, the whole neighborhood is like taken over by it, but definitely, it'll be good to see that gone.
Yeah, we're really excited about that project. We had just gone through, we have another property that we have a gentleman, a retired biologist who's addressing all the invasives. And we had just taken a walk through that property, and it's heartening to see how much he's done and, the little bit, because you just get, I don't know, you get a little angry at the invasives because they're sculpting out the native plants. And that's why working with the bees committee would be, it's really helpful.
Yeah, I was just gonna make that comment again. I think it's just so important that our various committees coming together and working on different issues, and everyone having their own lens in terms of how they might approach this or look at that. I'm just really appreciative of the efforts by your committee and the Bees Committee and all the various committees that I've been working with lately to find ways to collaborate and to solve problems, but also just really listen to varying perspectives that are going to help us solve community issues. So I appreciate you and the committee making that effort to collaborate.
Thanks. And it's nice to have trying to keep Easthampton as green as possible so everyone can enjoy it.
I appreciate you.
Yes. Thanks.
Anything else?
Okay, thank you.
I would entertain a motion to recommend this appropriation to the full council.
So moved.
I'll second, even if I'm going to abstain on the vote.
Okay. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay. Passes. All right, we've got some infrastructure ones. I think I forwarded along this communication, but Director Nettleman had reached out to say that he was not here, able to make it. But to forward along any questions that you have, I don't know how. I hope that people were able to get information that they needed, but if not, we can address that. But the first one is a request for $50,000 to purchase 10 fire hydrants and the associated installation couplings. Councilors, do you have any questions on this one?
I don't have any questions. I know these are outrageously expensive and obviously they're needed. So I have no questions regarding those.
I think my only question would have been kind of what the distribution of these is kind of around the city, but I did not have a chance to follow up with him after I got that email. So I don't feel like I need to have that answer today. It's really just making sure that, all of Easthampton is kind of being taken care of as needed, but I'm curious.
Okay. I am comfortable moving this forward, but I think whatever questions we have, we can try and get answers for before Wednesday, or I suspect that Director Nolan will be in attendance at that hearing on Wednesday. But I would entertain a motion to recommend this appropriation to the full council.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. This one, it's a $3,500 appropriation from free cash to recycling. The Director Nettleman says that the hazardous waste disposal prices have increased in FY 2026. As such, they're requesting $3,500 to be transferred from free cash to cover the shortfall. I feel like this is a theme that, I mean, that just when it comes to like the end of year free cash appropriations, it just seems like when it comes to anything revolving waste or the disposal of hazardous materials or whatnot, it's just one of those things that whatever they like, it feels like every budget season they budget for an increase, and then every year it's still there's still often like an appropriation. So I don't know if there's like a bigger structural thing, like if there's a way to rethink some of this, but I'm sure that they are thinking about those things. But in the meantime, it's a shortfall. So I feel like we, if we have the money, we kind of have to pay it. But councilors, any thoughts on this one? All right, I would entertain a motion to recommend this appropriation, the supplemental appropriation to the full council.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, this one's about fuel. It's $55,000. Again, this was a budget shortfall where we set the fuel budget at a certain price and then, if I had set a fuel price, if I had set a budget for my own fuel last June, I think a kind of similar thing would have happened because the price of gas almost doubled. But yeah, this is for the full fleet, not just DPW. Any questions on this one?
Kind of. This is sort of, you tell me if this is relevant to this budget line or not. But I was thinking about kind of this cost specifically as I was stuck on the side of the road, kind of watching the truck parade go by me this weekend and just noting all of the city vehicles that were using a very expensive resource in that moment. See lots of kids in my work that love trucks and understand how that's how that's a valuable thing for them to see and to kind of connect with their community in that way. But it did make me think, if these costs continue into this next year, does that make sense? And I just wanted to kind of put that out there.
I suppose that would be a question. I mean, I'd have a hard time guessing. I mean, you'd think that just to do a loop around Easthampton, that the cost would be fairly minimal, but there's a lot of vehicles. But yeah, I guess that's a thing we could explore. But I suppose in the meantime, I do think, again, sort of like the last one, like whenever we're seeing these things with shortfalls, I do think that should be a prompt for saying, hey, going into this year, this is a thing we should talk about what can we do to use less of this or to find a more cost-effective way to do it. But I just think but functionally, I do think we budgeted too little because we didn't realize that we were going to end up in a war and block a critical oil shipping lane for half of a year. So, I can't hold that against the DPW. So I would entertain a motion to recommend this appropriation to the full council.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Here's another DPW one with an operating shortfall. This is $2,917.69 from free cash for the landfill. It says the costs associated with monitoring and compliance reviews for the former Oliver Street and Landville Road landfills have increased in FY 2026, and they're requesting the money to be transferred to cover the shortfall. Did anyone have any questions about this or anything that they? I would entertain a motion to recommend this appropriation to the full council.
So moved.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This one kind of comes back, I think, to something. This is the diff revenue one. And this is coming back to something that we were talking about in the fall, or that you and I were talking about in the fall. I don't know, Councilor Schmidt, if you had ended up on finance yet at that point, but you know, we have this district improvement funding arrangement with the Ferry Street property, and that money for the last 5 fiscal years has been collected, but it hasn't been moved into an account. Like, it's just been going to the general fund. And given that they're now on the verge of spending some of that money, it would be good for that money to be in an appropriate fund. So I believe they calculated that revenue as this number, $198,905.69. So the idea is to move that out of free cash and into a diff fund revenue account so that we have properly accounted for those funds and can spend them appropriately. But does anybody have any thoughts on this one?
I don't think so.
Director Manuel is here also if she wants to provide any context or.
Director Manuel, would you like to say anything about this?
Hi, everyone. I don't necessarily have anything to add. I think you did a good job explaining it. This was something that was approved several years ago by the council, and I do want to clarify. I don't, and Auditor Patel can probably back me up on this. I don't believe the money was going into the general fund. I think it was closing out to free cash every year. And so now we're just putting it into the diff fund, which, as you said, will be used in that specific district.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. I mean, I'm comfortable with this. I feel like we probably should have done this from the jump, but Councilor Schmidt.
Yeah, just a couple, this is sort of trying to understand kind of the systems at play here. So I hear it was closed out into free cash. Does money ever stay in free cash, or does it kind of get redirected into, say, a stabilization account or the general fund?
Right, so free cash is sort of the certified surplus of the city. So if we got a bunch of revenue from this thing and it was coming to the city, but it wasn't going to any particular budget line items, and at the end of the year it would just close to free cash. And then yes, that free cash. So I think that functionally then, like, if money is fungible and that it doesn't matter if like this dollar bill goes to this or this, but like functionally, yeah, like probably there were payments that were made that went close to free cash, and then we used that free cash on things other than this. And now we're using some of this year's free, but it also, we're using some of this year's free cash to make that fund right.
Okay. Follow-up question. Because in the past couple months, we've been tasked with sort of creating new accounts for specific purposes. Does this account already exist that these funds are going into, and will any future funds be going into that account, or might there be a future appropriation similar to this in upcoming years?
Director Manuel, you want to speak to that? I mean, I think that the answer is that this fund has been created and that in the future things will just go to it, but am I correct on that?
That's a good question, and I would ask Auditor Patel if she has a better understanding of that, because I'm not entirely positive if it automatically goes to that fund or if you will have to do this every year.
Can I?
Hello.
Hi. So we have established this account a few months ago, and going forward, after adopting this account, the revenue will be going directly to this account. In past, since 2021, all the revenues were going into general fund revenue section. At the end of the fiscal year, it was closing to free cash. Free cash gets certified, whatever amount we do appropriation out of it goes to the specific purpose, and the leftover money from the free cash goes rolls over to the next year's free cash balance.
Okay, thanks for the clarification on that. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Any other questions on this item? I would entertain a motion to recommend this supplemental appropriation to the full council.
Second.
Motion a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up, we have a $650,000 appropriation from enterprise retained earnings to enterprise stabilization. So just for the benefit of the public, or maybe anyone here, when we have all these conversations about free cash, that's for the, the revenue that we're collecting on the normal city side. Enterprise retained earnings is basically that for the enterprise, for the water sewer. And so their enterprise stabilization is like our general stabilization. It's their rainy day fund. So the idea is simply that they retained these earnings over what they $650,000, and so they'd like to put those into their stabilization to fund future capital projects for water, sewer, wastewater. This is a pretty standard thing that happens every fiscal year.
Are any of these funds, so I hear for that, they will often get used for future capital improvements. Totally in favor of that. I do wonder, as folks occasionally see increases to their water and sewer bills, I wonder if any of these funds ever are repurposed into like stabilizing those costs for people. Is there a separate stabilization, like enterprise stabilization account for a rate stabilization?
I think that for something like that to be created, we would need the Board of Public Works to create it. Is my understanding. I think that the current Board of Public Works policy is to use these funds pretty aggressively to address some fairly serious and expensive like backlog of like deferred maintenance. And particularly stuff around like I know that there's a handful of like pretty big like pretty major thing like stormwater and wastewater and whatnot projects that are going to have to be funded, and that's the reason why those I certainly don't like paying a pretty lofty water and sewer bill any more than the next guy. But I think that the reason why those rates were raised when they were was because the Board of Public Works had made a determination that without those raises, it wasn't going to be feasible to raise the revenue they needed to make these improvements. Of course, eventually, hopefully those improvements will be made and maybe we can have a conversation about that. I don't know. I don't think that that's, I don't think that is currently part of their policy, but I'm just speaking from my understanding from talking to people, but Any other questions, comments?
I don't have any questions, but I agree. I think there's a lot of deferred maintenance and things, cans that got kicked down the road a long time, and now all that recycling has caught up to us, and now we're trying to work through it.
Makes sense.
And I do want to acknowledge that I think the departments are working really hard to find grants that allow us to be able to maximize the amount of money that we have put aside for this work. So instead of just taking all of this money and kind of putting it at that project, they're working very diligently to find grants that will then be able to kind of use some of these funds to be able to kind of get the most out of the work that needs to be done. You know, I think we often look at top, right? But there's a lot of work that needs to go, you know, below the surface that people are, the departments are really trying to look for funds to be able to do that. Right? So I think there's a lot that is happening that these funds alone aren't covering.
I would entertain a motion to recommend this supplemental appropriation to the full council.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we've got two interdepartmental transfers. This first one, I understand that Councilor Schmidt's gonna recuse himself from, so I'll just second.
Just look at me.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going? So this is our regular, although I think for a while we were doing this quarterly and then we haven't done it for a while and now we're doing a larger one. I don't know if we've switched the cadence on this to annual or, but
PEG access?
it's the PEG access,
Mhm.
yeah.
Actually, Auditor Patel. Are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Can you provide some context to this? We were doing this quarterly, and now we've switched that, but also I understand that there was a little bit of backlog. We're trying to catch up, some appropriation that went through and so can you, for the public, can you please provide some context here?
Yes, is Evan there still?
Evan is not.
Okay. I'll take this. We used to do this every quarter. Charter Communication or Spectrum will send us the check and we'll ask for an appropriation because that's the state regulation. And then we send the full amount back to eMedia. Last year or beginning of this year sometime, Charter Communication decided that they're going to give us annually one lump sum check instead of doing 4 checks in a year. So they are now giving us a lump sum amount, which is part of this appropriation. When I was trying to help Evan to figure out what needs to be done as he was dealing with this first time, I found out that back in October of 2025, the appropriation did not go to the city council for approval. So what I did this time is I added the full amount, including what would have happened back in October, plus the annual for either this year, and I don't know if it goes by the fiscal year or calendar year, but it's one-time annual, which is part of this appropriation. And once this is approved, we would be able to make the payment to eMedia.
Any questions on this?
I don't have any questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's their money, we're just a pass through, so. I would entertain a motion to recommend this appropriation of full council,
So moved.
or this interdepartmental transfer, I'm sorry.
So moved.
I'll second that. Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Okay. Passes. And finally, we have a $288.58 appropriation to be this is another interdepartmental transfer to be transferred from veterans supplies and materials to be transferred to veterans cash benefits. And this will be used to fund the June 2026 veterans benefit payment of $15,365 $15,000.43. The current balance of the account is $15,076.85. Actually, I have a question, Auditor Patel, if you don't mind. I'm definitely going to vote for this, but just for my own understanding, isn't this an intra-departmental transfer?
No, he's moving money from the cash benefit to his operating account.
Oh, I see. Okay. Got it. So that's a different account.
Yes.
Okay. I only asked because I just wanted to make sure this was actually necessary. Well, obviously this is another thing that we have to fund, and that seems, if we can move some money out of supplies and materials budget to make it work, that makes sense to me. Any questions, comments? All right, I would entertain a motion to recommend this interdepartmental transfer to the full council.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, so we're gonna wait until tomorrow. Hopefully we will hear back on that additional impact bargaining. And we can set a public, or we can set another meeting, another budget hearing to do the final approval of the budget once we've figured out what that's going to look like. But in the meantime,
Yes, the Chair, we had to continue a couple of items from the last public hearing. Have you been in touch with those departments to make sure that they're gonna be there?
yes.
Okay, great.
So, but thanks for the reminder. I will double check. I know I spoke about the legal expense and the other was the treasurer's item. Yeah, so I did speak about both of them. Yep. But I'll give them a reminder tomorrow, just to be sure.
Awesome.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.